What's up, guys? This is Panic Knife here with theawfulgamer.com, and today I'm back playing a little SimCity, and I'm going to show you how to make a relatively simple and yet extremely profitable city with basically with mining and then through electronics. This is the way I actually got over 100 million on my other city, so I'll do it again and show you how it's done. So let's go ahead and just pick a random region. That just kind of shows that it's brand new and it's not region specific, and that's we'll go ahead and show you how to start it up and then show you how to do it, and it's pretty easily replicable, I guess is the word, and hopefully you guys will check it out and try it yourselves, especially if you're starting out a new region. It's a good way to do it. The awful region is what we'll call it. Private region, not sandbox, so that's another reason why I did it back in here from the start of the game, so you can see that I'm not cheating. Okay, let's go ahead and I don't know. Let's pick. I'd like a city with raw ore. That's the easiest way to do this. There's a decent one. I don't really like that cliff too much, though. Let's see. That might be the only one I can really pick. Let's pick this one. Now, I have absolutely no idea where in the city the ore is going to be, so that should be kind of a fun little challenge, but we will see. And one of the reasons why I'm doing this on a brand new region and not one of the regions I've already been building is because I don't want, it's not necessary to have all the city upgrades and stuff like that. And kind of trying to show you that it's definitely helpful. Don't get me wrong, but okay. So this is actually kind of interesting how it has all the ore on the other island, and we started off over here. So what I will do? Oh, I know exactly how I'm going to do this. Cool. So let's go ahead and start by building with avenues, because avenues rule. We'll start out by building the first little thing there, and I will probably spend a little more money than I would have liked, but I want to build a kind of a bridge out to nowhere, and that will be where I do my industry. So I actually didn't need to build it right off the bat, but that's okay. Well, obviously this will be my closed loop over here, for the mining and that sort of stuff. But we'll start out by pulling this out here and building a power plant. I actually want to see how much, or what the wind direction is, just to give me a good idea of how much, or where I'm going to be polluting. Excellent! It's actually back towards the front of the map, so that's not a big deal. So let's go ahead and place our power plant. I've already spent quite a bit of money, which is not optimal, but not the end of the world either. I'm not going to really upgrade this one too much, so we'll go ahead and just build a coal. Because we're gonna be running out of money soon, I'm going to go ahead and start with the residential areas. Straight right there. But just make it a boxy little city. This isn't going to be too complicated. Like I said, this is kind of just more of a test region anyway, and since we're basically just purposing this out to build with high-tech industry, we'll go ahead and build up our industry, or build up our population a little bit, and create a situation where we can start with the mining and that sort of stuff. Now, as you can see, I actually used a little bit more money than I would have liked. I went ahead and blew out my bonds early, just because I wanted to make sure we can start this up as quickly as possible. This road over here, like I said, is going to be my closed loop for industry. This isn't going to be any kind of a specialized, any kind of a pretty town at all, really. We're going to mostly focus on this area right here being the industrial area, this area right here being the residential area. We'll go ahead and increase density as the population grows, and hopefully we'll have enough money to start off with our mining industry. Now, as you can see, we've actually been placed with a little bit of an interesting decision here, because I have the option to either do ore or coal, because there's a coal deposit right there on the other side as well. I think depending on how quickly I'm able to make the money, I might end up going with coal, just depending, or it just really depends on how much it costs for me to go ahead and build that avenue out to there. Actually, might end up doing two loops, one of them for the coal and one of them for the ore. But for this tactic, you're going to want to focus mostly on one of the two, just to start out. Because one of the reasons why we're doing it this way is that we're going to quickly build the headquarters and all of those buildings so that we can get through and start really doing the fun work. So let's name our city. Well, we'll call it Panic Knife's Playground. Playground. Oh well. Now I might have a little bit of issues here expanding the town hall. If I do, we'll adjust it at that point. One of the things I didn't really want to happen that did happen is that these people right here are being affected by the sewage outflow pipe. We'll eventually get past the point where we need a sewage outflow pipe, but for now they're just going to deal with it. That's how it goes when you're the mayor and they're the plebeians. So we'll go ahead and zone out a little bit more residential, and then we will start to hopefully be rolling in enough cash that we can begin our mining process. Alright, so I got a little impatient, and now I'm going to go ahead and just start out by building my first coal mine. I'm also going to have to build a trade depot. I can't quite afford it yet, but we'll let the ore build up a little bit while I wait for that. So let's go ahead and basically just sim it out as long as we need to in order to get the resources and that sort of stuff in order to continue forward. Alright, so as you can see, we now have the money in order to place the trade depot. That's going to help us export the ore from the mine, and that will obviously help us make it so that the stock doesn't completely fill up the mine, which that's pretty much the biggest limiting factor early on in mining. So let's go ahead and keep this game on cheetah speed as much as possible, or llama speed, I guess is what it really is, because they had to disable cheetah speed obviously this week because of the server issues. It's one of those things where you play with the online DRM and this is what happens. So unfortunately that's kind of what we have to deal with, but it's not the end of the world. Now this is a big one. Make sure that once you place the lot for the raw ore, you do the manage global market deliveries and export right there. That's going to be more, even this little bit of raw ore, that's going to be producing more money than anything you can do in early game in terms of taxes. I had at City, actually I showed it to you, the Some Awful City thingy that I was running before. If you are new to the series, go ahead and check out the playlist. I believe I cover it in videos 1 and 2. That city, which was completely developed and very well efficient in terms of how many people it had in it, and the industry is very efficient and all that sort of stuff, and really no traffic either, which is pretty awesome for what ended up being a 200,000 person city. It's still, it was only making like 15K an hour, something like that. So we're talking about 5K an hour, maybe a little bit longer than that once, or until we get the mine fully up. But it's way more efficient than any of those kinds of things in terms of selling and making a good income. So what we're trying to do here is we're trying to keep them all out here on this avenue over here. We can probably build 3 or 4 of these plants, which will help us pretty much make it so that we don't have to worry about money really ever again. Once we get out to such a big lead in terms of how much money we have, it won't be that big of a deal. Now our next goal is going to be upgrading the ore mine so that it produces ore very quickly. I'll put a second mine over here, and once these both have 4, I don't even know what they call them. 4 what are these things? Extractors maybe? Shafts. Yeah, we'll go with shafts. Once each of them has 4 shafts, this process will speed up quite a bit. So now we have a completely upgraded mine. That's going to help us out by being able to ship a lot of this over to the trade depot as quickly as possible and producing enough ore to hopefully upgrade us to the metals HQ. That's what we want to get. We want to get that metals HQ so that we can upgrade it and get over to smelting. Once we hit smelting, we can start looking towards other ways of upgrading our city. And we're already going to be making quite a bit of money off of the alloys there. So that's one of the biggest steps that we're going to take in this game here. While I wait for this to basically get up to 95 tons per day, which is, I believe, what the amount you have to extract per day in order to get the HQ, I'm going to upgrade a little bit of the rest of my city, just hopefully increase some density and make sure that that the power's on and all that kind of stuff, and hopefully we'll be able to add some services as well while we're waiting. Basically, we probably won't hit 95 today just because of the fact that we ran out of water for quite a long time there. These things do suck quite a bit of water, so be mindful of that. But as long as we don't have any major problems in the next day, I see us easily hitting 95 tons. And then that's when the fun starts, because we have to increase our profits to, I believe, 350,000 per day or something insane like that. And there's actually a trick for that, and I'll show you. So as you can see, our city was had more than enough with just one mine right there that was fully upgraded. Has more than enough capacity to produce the metals headquarter in just one day. I mean, we are only at 745 and we already have the metals headquarter unlocked. So it doesn't take a whole lot of mining in order to unlock this headquarters, and from there we start to build some of the more interesting buildings, which include the trade headquarters and a few other things. So we will obviously have to wait to grind out that 37k. Once we do, we'll be able to continue onward. Alright, so now we have enough to build the metals headquarter. Let's go ahead and place this on this side of the road so that we can continue to update it, and also because of the fact that we have an additional metals mine on the other side of the road, so let's just stay away from that. Our goal here with the metals headquarter is to get $160,000 of metals daily profit. Now, yesterday, as you can see, we made 75,000, which is decent. You know, it's not that bad, but it's not going to do. We're not going to be able to make the 160 with just one mine here and without doing anything else. So what we're going to want to do is create another trade depot. Now, it's not just a matter of, you know, placing trade depots and being good to go. That's all you got to do. Just you know, have enough to fill up the mines and all that stuff. It's actually going to be a lot more difficult than that. You might be able to get lucky and have a really good day in which you sell enough that it really works out for you. But the easier way to do this is to first place a second trade depot. Go ahead and upgrade it the same way we did this one, which is to have 4 pallets of the raw ore, and then change the manage global market deliveries to use local. What we're going to do is, right when that clock hits 12 a.m., we're going to launch our, it should have built up these the trade depots all the way to 80 tons. We're going to launch it into full-on sell mode at 12 a.m., and then we're going to have ourselves a very quick route all the way up to 160. So that is the strategy here in order to upgrade it the first time. And once we upgrade it the first time, that's, again, I know I've said this a couple times now, but that's when it gets fun, because then we can unlock smelting, which unlocks alloys and all kinds of other good stuff that's going to make us tons of money. So let's go ahead and wait for us to make enough money to place a second trade depot, and then we're off to the races. So I thought better of it. What are you going to do? So my plan originally was I was going to create the trade depots, have them fully full, have the mines completely stocked with their resource, and then switch them off of local mode into export mode and sort of artificially pump the market full of your resource, which will get you over that 160k profit. I decided to add the second coal mine here, or this first coal mine rather, here, just because of the fact that I realized that it was going to be pretty close in terms of whether I would hit 160 or not. And as you can see, I missed it very slightly. That's like 3 to 4 deliveries. It wasn't that big of a deal. But, you know, it was more efficient. It's more efficient just to do it this way. So I will demonstrate that right now. So let's go ahead and switch these trade depots to export, and we should be off to the races. So let's go ahead and sim. And hey, look at that. We even knocked it out before dinner time. So let's go ahead and upgrade our HQ, which makes it nice and big and pretty, I think. Maybe not. Make sure that you create the smelting division, not the commerce or engineering division, because I've made that mistake before and you can't take it back. So go ahead and make the smelting division. Costs 200k. It's well worth the costs though. And then you go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and just take out a couple of bonds to fund my smelting plants. And that is where the money really starts rolling in. So let's go ahead and create that. We're going to switch these trade depots over to alloy, because this actually makes metal or alloy. Alloy is more it fetches a higher price than metal, and also it is going to be one of the key components of processors, which is what we're going to eventually get in. So let's go ahead and continue to create those alloy furnaces. And I believe this is a metal furnace. We'll go ahead and leave it in for now just because of the fact that we don't have any money here. But let's switch these trade depots over to use locally for those resources, so that they deliver straight over to the smelting plant. And then once we're able to do that, we're going to go ahead and delete 2 on each of them, which actually we can probably just go ahead and delete one of them completely. Switch over coal and raw ore on these bad boys, so that we always are going to have resources for the smelting factory and also the ability to sell the alloys. So let's go ahead and let it sim for a little bit, make a little bit of money, and then we'll be right back on it. So as you can see, we had a little bit of a power snafu, which put our smelting production a little bit behind schedule and threatened our ability to really perform as an industry town. But with this smelting factory, as long as you're able to keep it producing alloy and or metal, you're going to be making a significant profit, and that's going to let you continue to upgrade the rest of your city. And that's the biggest way to make money in the early game. Now I'm going to go ahead and, once it delivers this metal that it's building up here, and we're going to create a little bit of a less of bottleneck here by increasing the number of delivery trucks that we have. Once we're able to sell off this metal, I'm going to remove the metal plant from this and switch this completely over to alloy. So it's going to the alloy is the higher yield, and metal isn't really required unless you're building something like an archaeology or something like that. And you can even get metal from a recycling plant as well. You can get alloy from recycling too, but I would prefer not to have to rely on the recycling, because it can be hit and miss in that sense. So I definitely would recommend going through the smelting route for your alloy, especially considering that it can consistently produce something that that really delivers a lot of profit to your city. Now we have enough capacity in terms of our mining to do at least 2 smelting factories. So in order to maximize our profit here, since we have more of resources than we do of capacity to produce the next level of product, I'm going to go ahead and build a second smelting factory, completely upgrade that one as well. And from there, we're going to work on increasing the education of our city. Now, I have to this point not built a single school, which I'm sure thrills my population. But once we're able to start building schools and get towards high-tech industry, I believe you only need to get to medium technology. Once you get to medium technology, you're able to start building processor factories, and that is where the real money in this game starts rolling in. Now, this is good money, what we were making here. As you can see, we're losing money per day. That's going to be resolved pretty soon when I upgrade the rest of the city. But we're going to work on, building up the getting to the processors, and then eventually to the TVs, and that's how you make millions in this game. And that can really help you build whatever kind of city you want. You're going to need to have, in my opinion, an industry city that makes you a lot of money off the bat, because if you don't have that, it's going to be very difficult to, be able to sustain the losses that you get initially from casinos or tourism or anything like that. If you're able to really, just say, oh, I'm losing a little money, I'm going to toss over, or, I had a bad event in coming out of my stadium or something like that. Oh, well, I can just toss my other city 18 million, and not even think about it. It's a whole lot easier. So I would highly recommend you start the city out like this and, work your way up to being able to have those TVs and processors.
Today we're here to show real people voice control from Xfinity.
I'm going to show you something that's going to blow the camo off your shirt.
You just get your smartphone, tap the mic button.
Show me Jimmy Fallon.
This opens up a whole nother world.
Control your TV with your voice. See for yourself. Visit Comcast.com/X1 today.
Wondershare Video Editor makes it easy to customize video how you want, no matter if your video's from a camcorder, YouTube, or smartphone. Launch the software and choose one of two options. Create a new project in 16:9 or 4:3 resolution, or click Open to work on an existing project. First, import the media files you want to edit by clicking Import. Drag media files to the timeline. Also, drag to adjust the length of the timeline. The media files you drag can include videos, music, or photos. Next, edit your videos using powerful editing functions. Text effect. Double-click to preview the resource and drag to timeline. After that, you can drag to adjust its start time in the project. Then, add effect, picture-in-picture, transition, and even intro to your videos. Just drag it right into the timeline. Next, drag a clip to change the order. Besides video effects, you can also trim, split, rotate, crop, speed up certain video clips. Finally, after you've finished editing, click Create to share your customized videos. There are 4 ways to share or save your videos. Save them on your mobile devices, share on YouTube, save them on PC in any common video format, even burn them to DVD. Now go to www.wondershare.net and get started editing.
So now that we've got those factors completely up and running, I can pretty much just leave this alone and worry about upgrading the rest of my city. The first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and, first of all, check on the issues. I've let things go forever. The jail cells, people are being released early all over the place. I'm sure people are all pissed off, and it's really difficult to increase your, your city size and that sort of thing with a pissed off city. So let's go ahead and upgrade the jail, upgrade the, all that kind of stuff. Upgrade all the roads over here, upgrade the clinic, the fire station. Just make sure that, the quality of life of these sims is pretty high. We'd like to have optimally pretty high density just so that we can get a decent population over on this side. Unfortunately, we have to wait a little bit for the trading income to come through. Sometimes it can be a little bit spotty, as you can tell. I've had a few bankrupt screens so far, which I guess is the equivalent of a game over in this game, but not exactly, because it bounces out of it very quickly, just because of the fact that the alloy, it makes 50,000 every time one of those goes through, and there's our little alloy truck right there. So let's go ahead and get some money and continue to upgrade. Hopefully, 51K. Look at that. All right, so let's go ahead and continue to upgrade our regular services here, and then we will start to worry about increasing the education level of our sims. That will be how, of course, we are able to get through and build the higher factories that let us build processor factories, that let us build TVs, that let us pretty much win the game. Alright, so now everything's upgraded. We're going to go ahead and focus on starting out with getting our guys a grade school here. This isn't, we're not really going to be able to start out by giving them the really high class education, but let's go ahead and, get back to basics. Build them that grade school. We'll go ahead and give these guys a bus stop as well. You don't really need them over there in that industrial area, but you might have to expand over there, you never know. So we'll go ahead and provide it anyway. Now, it looks like I'm having an issue here because of overflow, and that is not to be, or not all that unexpected. What we end up doing here is changing this pump out, this basic water pump, to a filtration pump. And it looks like we're actually kind of getting close to that pump capacity anyway. So what we will do is, once we have the little bit of money, and there we have it, we're going to go ahead and use that money to switch to a filtration pump. And then as soon as we have a little bit more money, we're going to add an additional pump. And again, we have the game over thing. Of course, the game knows that I'm not doing too poorly with my trade, so it's letting me continue onward, which is nice, at a decent speed. Even it's not cheetah speed. Not cheetah speed. Cheetah speed would make this a lot easier, but it will let me continue on this this hybrid llama cheetah, whatever it is, just because it knows, like I said, that my I'm good for the money, if you will. My industry's doing pretty well. So there we go. We've got 40K. We need to build a second pump as soon as possible. We have to wait for another alloy truck in order to do that, though. But as you can see, I mean, we have a very consistent influx of money coming in here. This is it's making my life a lot easier when it comes to, you know, to deficit spending. As you can see, we're way over the typical budget, but it's not really mattering that much, as you can tell. You know, we have to focus a little bit on making sure that the budget isn't too overwhelming. You know, you have to, once you get it somewhat close to that, you can't expect it. You'll always have enough to if you blow it all in one minute, it's going to kind of screw you over. But you know, you can still deficit spend a little bit just based on the fact that you know that this money's coming in. We've got 2 smelting plants here, producing quite a bit of alloy. That we're going to get another delivery right here, so we should have like 120K. You're going to be way outpacing the you know, the deficits and stuff like that. So I wouldn't worry too much about it. Although, like I said, we have to make sure that we're at least paying a little attention to it. So now that we have a second shipment coming in here, once I finish that shipment, I'm going to try to upgrade my my roads and stuff, because we actually need to upgrade the city hall again. Like I said, this is a new region. Well, I didn't say it, but this is a new region, so we don't have the benefit of other people helping us out with the city hall upgrades. We need to upgrade our education. So we need a Department of Education, and that's going to require a few more citizens. So I'm going to go through and upgrade as many of these city roads as I can, and then wait for our population to increase to the point where I can go ahead and do that. And I actually don't need to increase it that much. I think it's only 15K. So if we get 3,000 more people, it should be good to go. So let's go ahead and work through that, upgrade all these roads, and hopefully they'll start building nice big tenements. Alright, so now we've got our city to slightly over 15K, which means we can upgrade our city hall and add another module, and this module is going to be the Department of Education. So that will help us to build high schools and colleges and all that good stuff. So let's go ahead and progress that to that point, and then we should be able to start building processors. Alright, so Project Educate My Citizens has been pretty successful. So what we did is we completely upgraded the grade school, completely upgraded the high school, added a community college near the sector here that's industrial, and I was lazy, and I was impatient. I didn't need to do it, but I put a university over here, which instantly increases the tech level. So we've got 5 high-tech buildings and approval to build a processor factory, which is what we want to do. Now, this is going to be kind of a huge step for us, both in terms of profit and also in terms of risk. What we're going to do in order to create this processor factory is we're going to switch over from a metals-based economy over to importing metals in order to fill these smelting factories. We're going to import the raw materials, use those to create our alloy, and then import our plastic. Now, the reason why this is so risky, I mean, you could probably already guess, but we're kind of deficit leading here. it's going to be a much smaller margin, because the difference between alloy and the processors is 48,000 to about 67,000. So we're going to be adding on an import there, which is, I believe, 18,000 for the plastics. In addition, we're also going to have an import of the coal and the ore. So those two items are going to add additional costs there. So our margin's actually going to be smaller with the processors. But as you will see, trust me, there's a method to this madness. So let's go ahead and take the big dip. Actually, let's wait a little bit before I build up a little bit more of a margin there. But what we are going to do is create the first processor factory. That's the reason I didn't do it right away, is because the processor factories are pretty expensive in and of themselves. But we're going to create the processor factories. We're going to start importing plastic, so that means that we have to change over some of this alloy right here, which we're not going to need that much alloy storage, because it's going to be feeding the processor factory right away. So we'll go ahead and delete 2 of those and fill it with plastic as soon as it pops up. There we go. So let's go ahead and add plastic, and we are going to import. So it actually looks like the plastic price has gone down on the global market, which is nice. It's mostly because it's easy to do, so that's good. But we're going to, you're looking around and you're probably thinking, well, where are we going to find the room to create all these processor factories? And the answer is, we're going to delete that coal mine, we're going to delete that ore mine, and I mean, we're going to keep the smelting factory solely just because of the fact that, or rather the metals HQ, solely because of the fact that we're continuing with these smelting factories. But as you will see, once we get to TVs, we're going to delete those too. It's going to be basically a process where we continually to make it so that we're only importing things that are specifically not as expensive to import as it is to just continue with the process of making things as quickly as possible. So we're going to go ahead and wait for our processor factory to make us a little profit, and then we're going to continue to demolish our industries, import items, and win. Alright, so now that we've built up a little bit of a margin here on processors, basically what I did was I completely upgraded the factory. It's now producing a decent number of processors a day, 9,600 a day. We're also exporting all of them, and we're still exporting a little bit of alloy, because I discovered that we were coming across a little bit more loss than I'd like to, to handle. So we've been able to build the electronics headquarters, and we realized that we need to get to $1.5 million in daily profit off of processors. To that I say, no problem, sir. It shouldn't be that big of a deal. What we'll need to do is create a second processor factory, fully upgrade that as well, and that really should be all we need to do. I don't think we really need to get rid of the industry yet, the metals and that sort of thing, but we will do that once we upgrade to a consumer electronics factory. So let's go ahead, and we might hit another bankruptcy right here, if we run out of the processors in this thing and they don't sell quite right. So let's cross our fingers. Actually, look, the alloy sold, and we were able to stay afloat for one more day. So let's continue to let this sim. The alloy should go ahead and be produced as soon as possible. We have a little bit of alloy in storage, but we kind of need that to maintain our margins at this point. So like I said, we're not going to immediately switch over like I thought we would, but we're going to continue on and let it sim a little bit longer. And once we are able to upgrade the electronics headquarters, then it is, I promise, really going to start rolling downhill. Alright, so I've now reached the point where it's no longer feasible to only import 2 out of the 4 things of plastic. So I've created another trade depot over here. It now has 8,000 capacity to import over there. That will be continuously feeding the processor factories plastic. I've also completely changed over the processor factory to all processors, or rather the trade depot to all processors. We're close to the limit here on the electronics headquarters, but we're not quite there yet with 3 fully upgraded factories. So what I'm now considering, and what I believe I'm about to do, is that I think it's now time for us to consider to demolish our coal and raw ore industries. They served us well, but now it's time to pretty much eliminate bottlenecks. We were able to import and not have to worry about the cost too much. It's only 9,000 per unit, so it's not that big of a deal. I'm going to now go ahead and bulldoze these units. You had a good run, guys. Sad day. But yeah, so we've now gotten rid of those. If we end up having capacity issues with our smelters, all we'll have to do is just add another trade depot that will fully, so that we can switch over each one to completely having that one resource. If we still have problems, we have the options of creating aspects on this trade port here, so that when ships come through, they will deliver us those units as well. So we're not going to have issues with that. It's not going to be a problem. What I will do here is I'm going to wait for these processor factories to get plastic. I just built this one and it took a little while to start running, so what we'll do is go ahead and wait for the plastic production to catch up. They'll deliver to these factories, which are now fully upgraded. These 3 factories should feed right into this trade port right here, and we'll be continuing to produce enough processors, hopefully, to make this 1 million number, possibly even today. It may be tomorrow in game time, but as soon as we're able to produce that, we will then be able to upgrade it and start producing TVs. Alright, so it was close, but with about a couple hours to go in the first full day of running my businesses in that way, we were able to make the 1.5 million in order to upgrade the electronics headquarters. So at this point, we want to build the consumer electronics division. Don't make the mistake of buying the commerce division. You don't need it, and it ends up making it so that it's almost impossible to get the consumer electronics division built. So just make sure you are able to do that. Now, this whole thing is just a dance of how you're able to manage resources. If one of your smelters isn't getting enough raw materials, you're not going to be able to produce enough alloy to be able to produce the processors to be able to produce the profit. So, the big concern here is just to make sure that you have you're importing enough raw materials so that these things are putting out just enough so that you don't have too many processor factories, that this is all just keeps going, so that the trade depot can keep selling them. Every 1,000 they're selling another batch. So just make sure that they're able to continually be able to sell that product, and you should be able to get, like I said, I have 3 right here, so you should be able to get 1.5 million to upgrade the TVs, and then it's really time to start launching into some big time profits. So let's go ahead and create the first one here, and we'll max it out and see how it goes. So let's go ahead and I'll break it a little bit right here, and then we'll come back when I have fully maxed this factory out, and we should start seeing some huge profits. Now, it's slightly possible that you might lead with a little bit of loss in the TV industry, but I mean, look at how much profit you're making off of each unit. So just go ahead and build the trade depot. Suffer a little bit of early loss. I had to buy out another bond just to make sure that the lack of processors wasn't really hurting my business. But once you continue to make these TVs, I wouldn't bother putting any money into the computers that are lower profit rate, and also, they're not actually any of the raw materials for like the arcology or anything. So unless you find something you really need the computers for, I would just focus on TVs. TVs give you almost 200,000 profit per unit, and that is tremendous. Now, I'm gonna have to start this out, I'm gonna have to wait off a little bit before I start to really pump in the process, or pump the processors from being sold themselves into actually getting the profit off of them and having them create the TVs, just because of the fact that I don't have enough money off the top of my head here. So once I'm able to go ahead and produce those processors, I might cut down one of these processor factories, turn that into a TV factory, and I should still have the raw materials possible to continue to produce TVs. Now, you don't actually need alloy for the TVs. It's just plastic and processors. The additional plastic that you need, you should. I mean, look, I have 3 processor factories going full. They haven't stopped in probably like at least 2 game days since I've done this, turned all 4 units into plastic right there, so you shouldn't have any problems with the additional plastic that this thing needs. The concern would be that if once you completely upgrade with all 4 units into TVs, you might have a little bit of trouble with the processors, just because of the fact that you're going to probably cut down one of these factories just so that you can create another TV factory. Optimally, you'll want 2 or 3, as many as you can fit, really. As many as you want to do is best, but 2 or 3 is usually a good way to make quite a bit of money per day or so. And now it's pretty much the same thing as you've been having this entire time. You keep this delicate balance of resources going, and you sell the most productive product. Each one of these makes 200k, so that is now the most productive product that you can make. So let's go ahead and switch over the processors to use locally. We'll no longer be accruing them into the trade depot. We're going to go ahead and also delete 2 of these storage units, transfer those over to TVs, and sell the TVs. It's very simple at this point. I mean, once you've gotten here, all the hard work has already been done. If you can, sustain just a little bit of loss leading while you transition over from processors into TVs, it's really no big deal. So we're going to wait just a tiny bit longer until we produce another shipment of TVs so that we can get another factory built. And once we have that factory fully upgraded, I mean, you pretty much don't need to do anything else for money in the entire game except just sit here and twiddle your thumbs and maybe work on your actual, city over there. It's funny because when I'm doing this kind of a thing with when I'm starting the region, you don't end up really focusing on your people at all. I mean, this is a very small amount of residential area, a very small amount of, even smaller than small area of industrial over there. All I have right there is a little bit of commercial, and that's pretty much it. So look, we've already got 400k now. Let's go ahead and delete one of these processor factories, or bulldoze it or whatever, and let's go ahead and build another consumer electronics factory. This is our money maker, so why wouldn't we, right? So let's go ahead and start the up now. I guess we can wait a little bit. Wait a little bit to get our to upgrade it, just until we build up a few more dollars. And yeah, that's pretty much how it goes, though. I mean, we're not really going to be all that concerned with running out of resources at this point. All we've really done is we've deleted one of these factories, so the processor factory no longer is consuming quite as much alloy, so we don't have to worry about running out of resources. There's not as much alloy, not as much plastic. It'll go straight into here. We need the plastic for this. The alloy will it might end up becoming a situation where we can delete one of these smelting factories because we don't need as many processors. We've got tons of processors that are just like, they're everywhere, so we don't really have to, as long as they're building up in the trade depots, there's no reason. We're not selling them. We're just using them as raw materials. So it's that whole delicate balance thing. As long as you're able to juggle that balance of resources, this becomes really easy and really, really profitable. My other city is now, see, look at that, loss leading. That's the problem with building these factories before you actually have the money for it. But it makes for an entertaining video. But look, we've already got another 2,000 crates right there to sell, or 1,000 crates. 2,000 will be coming soon. Look at that, another 1,000 will be coming there very shortly. So we've already sold another 200k there. That means we can upgrade our factory a little bit more. And once we get all 4 in TVs, we've got 2 different factories running the most profitable unit in the game. We can even afford to, if we wanted to, go ahead and delete these smelting factories. Stop importing raw ore. Stop importing, the coal, and just go ahead and import alloy instead. If you import the alloy, you're going to make a little bit less profit every time, but it's not that big of a deal. You're still making 120, 130k per unit, and you can increase capacity quite a bit if you're importing. Now, there's a few little things I wanted to talk about before we end the video. One of them is that you can use these trade ports a lot more than I have been. They can, if you increase your capacity, they can be a great way to make bigger trade ports. I think you can hold up to 10,000 of the TVs rather than, I believe, 8,000 for a fully upgraded trade depot. So the 10,000 actually will, that's off of one unit. So you can actually build 6 of them if you really wanted to, have them ferried out every so often, and you get a big bulk cell right there. So that's full. If you really increase your capacity to the point where you can handle that, knock yourself out. I didn't really choose to at this point, just because of the fact that, just because I have the option doesn't mean I need to. And quite frankly, the city's going to be making more than enough money anyway, and I can just let it run overnight if I really needed all that much more money, right? Additionally, you can make alloy, plastic, and metal from recycling. I haven't done that in the city yet. I probably will, but it's not that big of a deal. It's actually more inconsistent than these smelting factories, so I don't really need to worry about that at this point. Otherwise, just have fun. This is the best way to start up a region. You're going to create this electronic city that's going to basically sugar daddy the rest of your cities and all that sort of thing. You're going to have every natural resource you need to build most of the different great works, and that's where this game really gets fun. You use those great works so that you can be more creative with your cities. Whether you don't need to create a huge region if you have an international airport that'll bring you tourists, or a space center that'll bring you tourists. You don't need to create a huge region if you have an arcology that is going to give you, shoppers and residents and all that stuff. So that's pretty much it. I mean, this city can do it all, and this city can really pump in the profits. So I would highly recommend going ahead and doing it. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. It's a pretty long one, but that's okay. Anyway, with theawfulgamer.com, this is your boy Panic Knife. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Have a good night.